Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I don't feel like myself anymore? You're not alone. The eyes are a little tired, the motivation a little dimmed, the body slower than it used to be. And yet, what if I told you you're real? Age isn't just a number, it's a signal. A signal your brain and body send based on how you live, not just how long you've lived. Because aging isn't a switch, it's a dimmer, and what you do today can brighten the system. Asterisk, the moment you wake up, your body is waiting for a cue. Not coffee, not notifications, light, natural sunlight. It's not just a wake-up call, it's the switch that tells your entire system what time it is, what hormones to release, what mood to prepare for, how to distribute energy, and when to prepare for rest. And that one cue, that one decision to step outside within 30 minutes of waking, can change your entire day and your long-term health. This is not theory. This is cellular, neurological reality. Deep in your brain sits the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock. It's connected directly to your retina through a pathway known as the retino-hypothalamic tract. And what does this master clock need? In order to synchronize every other biological rhythm in your body, light, but not just any light, natural light, morning light, the kind that contains the full spectrum, including the blue wavelengths that penetrate deeply and signal to your neurons that day has begun. Why does this matter for aging? Because your body's ability to repair, regulate, and respond to stress is tightly bound to its internal timing. When you wake up and expose your eyes to morning light, you activate the release of cortisol, the stress kind that spikes randomly when you're overwhelmed, but the healthy, essential cortisol, pulse that drives alertness, metabolism, and immune function during the day. This pulse peaks within the first hour of waking when properly cued by sunlight. If you miss it, if you stay inside, under dim artificial lighting, you delay that cortisol spike. And with that delay comes a downstream cascade of dysfunction. Grogginess, poor mood, appetite disruption, weakened immune signaling, and worst of all, circadian misalignment. When your circadian rhythm drifts, your sleep becomes fragmented. You fall asleep later. You wake up feeling unrested. You crave sugar and caffeine. You start to operate out of sync. And aging, at its core, is about losing synchronization. Systems that used to communicate cleanly begin to drift. Hormones arrive at the wrong time. Energy surges when you're supposed to be winding down. Inflammation creeps upward. Mitochondrial efficiency declines. It's not just time passing, it's information breaking down. And light, specifically morning lighties, the reset button that keeps everything coherent. Even your mental health depends on this cue. Light exposure early in the day has been shown to increase dopamine, especially in areas like the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens, regions tied to motivation, focus, and reward. When dopamine tone is healthy, you feel engaged. You're drawn to effort. You want to create, move, contribute. But when dopamine dips, so does drive. Things feel dull. Tasks feel heavier. Life feels flat. So when you step into the light in the morning, you're not just waking up your eyes, you're reactivating your purpose. The timing matters. There's a biological window roughly within the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking where light has the most powerful effect on your circadian rhythm. Outside that window, the signaling becomes weaker. The master clock still tries to calibrate, but the rhythm is offbeat. The key is to get outside, not through a window, not with sunglasses, not under fluorescent lights. Direct exposure to natural light, even on a cloudy day, gives you between 10,000 and 100,000 lux. Compare that to indoor lighting, which is often below 1,000 lux. Your biology knows the difference. The cells in your retina respond to intensity, duration, and angle. They need that early angle of the sun to send the right data to your hypothalamus. There's also a thermal component. Morning sunlight slightly warms the skin and raises body temperature, cue that aligns with the circadian rise in core temperature that signals it's time to be awake. This temperature shift further supports alertness, blood flow, and metabolic readiness. It's another layer of reinforcement to your internal clock. Day has begun. Mobilize. Repair will come later. And speaking of repair, that's why this morning exposure is crucial for sleep quality. Melatonin, your body's sleep hormone, isn't just about darkness, it's about timing. Morning sunlight starts the countdown for melatonin release 12 to 14 hours later. That means the earlier you anchor your circadian rhythm with light, the earlier your brain knows when to prepare for deep, regenerative sleep. Sleep isn't an on-off switch. It's a process your body begins, preparing for hours before you lay your head down. Get morning light, and your entire evening becomes more restful, more regulated. Skip it, and you may find yourself staring at the ceiling, wide awake, at midnight, wondering why you're still wired. Let's ground this in a real-life scenario. Imagine two people wake up at 7 a.m., one stays inside, scrolling their phone, making coffee, getting ready under artificial lighting. The other steps outside for 10 minutes, no sunglasses, maybe while walking the dog or just standing on the porch. By 9 a.m., the second person's cortisol has spiked properly. Their dopamine tone is elevated, their alertness is smoother, their metabolism is active. By evening, their melatonin rises naturally, and they fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up feeling refreshed. Multiply that cycle by 30, 60, 90 days, and the aging trajectory of those two individuals diverges. One begins to show signs of fatigue, inflammation, sleep fragmentation, mood swings. The other maintains energy, focus, and resilience. The difference? Light. Your brain is like a GPS. It needs timestamps to orient itself. Morning light gives it those coordinates. Without them, it drifts, recalculates poorly, and begins to operate inefficiently. Over time, that inefficiency becomes aging. But with the right cue at the right time, your brain stays calibrated. Youth isn't just about energy. It's about precision. And it's not just about how you feel today. It's about how your brain and body accumulate function over time. The research is clear: people with strong, anchored circadian rhythms live longer, have lower rates of depression and cognitive decline, and report higher life satisfaction. This is not a coincidence. It's the result of rhythmic harmony between the brain and the environment. A harmony that starts with morning light. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require supplements. It just requires intention. Open the door. Step outside. Let the photons hit your retina. Let your biology remember what it was designed to do, because every morning you get a choice. A chance to reset the clock, to sync your system, to send the message, I'm here, I'm active, I'm still building. That message sent daily is how youth is sustained. Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness. It's not a passive state where the body shuts off and the brain goes quiet. It is one of the most active, dynamic, and regenerative processes the human body undergoes. It is the time when your nervous system recalibrates, when your immune system repairs, when your hormonal systems synchronize. Every system that makes you feel alive, resilient, and youthful relies on sleep to maintain its function. If you want to slow down aging, if you want to feel 10 years younger, this is where it begins. Deep, consistent, high-quality sleep. Biologically, your sleep is governed by two main systems: the circadian rhythm and the sleep pressure system. Circadian rhythm is your body's internal 24-hour clock. It tells you when to be alert, when to rest, when to release hormones, when to repair tissues, and even when to digest food. The second system, sleep pressure, is governed by a molecule called adenosine. As you're awake and active, adenosine builds up in your brain. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates, and the stronger your urge to sleep becomes. But the key to both of these systems functioning optimally is consistency. You need to go to sleep and wake up at roughly the same time every day. That's how you create rhythm. That's how you protect your biology. Now, let's talk about why. This matters for aging. One of the most fascinating things happening during sleep, particularly in deep, non-REM sleep, is the activation of the glymphatic system. This is the brain's cleaning crew. Every day your brain builds up waste metabolic byproducts like beta amyloid and tau proteins. These are neurotoxins that, if not cleared, can accumulate and contribute to cognitive decline, even Alzheimer's disease. But when you sleep deeply, cerebrospinal fluid is pulsed through the brain's tissue, flushing out these toxins and clearing the neural environment for the next day. This doesn't happen when you're awake. It's a process that only takes place during sleep. And the deeper your sleep, the more efficiently your brain cleans itself. There's also a hormonal symphony happening at night. Growth hormone, one of the most powerful anti-aging hormones your body produces, is released in pulses during deep sleep. It helps repair muscle, maintain bone density, support skin elasticity, and regulate fat metabolism. This hormone declines with age, but when you sleep well, especially during the first third of the night when deep sleep is most prominent, you maximize its natural production. That's repair at the cellular level. That's how you maintain youth from the inside out. Sleep is also essential for memory and cognitive health. During REM sleep, when dreams occur, brain integrates emotional experiences, consolidates short-term memories into long-term storage, and strengthens neural connections. This is neuroplasticity in action. You don't just rest during sleep, literally become smarter. Your brain replays experiences from the day, prunes unnecessary connections, and reinforces valuable ones. This is why, after a good night's sleep, your thinking is sharper, your recall is faster, and your emotional regulation is more stable. And yet, despite all this, we live in a society that glorifies late nights and minimal rest. We overstimulate. We flood our eyes with artificial light at night and confuse the very system we rely on for timing. Melatonin, the hormone that signals to your body it's time to wind down, is highly sensitive to light. When you expose your eyes to screens, LEDs, or even overhead lights late at night, you suppress melatonin production and delay your natural sleep onset. This is not a minor inconvenience. It's a disruption that alters your entire hormonal profile. Poor sleep also drives inflammation, chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates aging. It affects insulin sensitivity, blood pressure regulation, appetite control, and even immune response. One night of disrupted sleep can increase your levels of C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation. Do this repeatedly, and your risk for cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and neurodegenerative decline rises sharply. But the good news is this is within your control. You don't need a prescription to improve your sleep. You need behaviors. You need to respect the architecture of your biology. This starts with protecting your sleep environment. Your room should be dark, cool, and quiet. Darkness signals melatonin. Cool temperatures drop your core body temperature, which is a signal for sleep onset. Quiet allows your brain to slip into deeper sleep states without interruption. You're creating conditions for repair. Then there's timing. The brain craves regularity. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, including weekends. This anchors your circadian rhythm. If your sleep and wake times shift drastically, your brain treats it like jet lag. Hormones get confused. Energy feels unpredictable. Metabolism becomes inefficient. The key is consistency and more than duration. And yes, duration still matters. Adults typically need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per night, not time in bed, actual sleep. That includes deep sleep, REM sleep, and light sleep. They all serve different purposes. Cutting that short by an hour or two each night might feel manageable at first, but the biological debt accumulates. You start feeling more reactive. Your focus drops. Your body repairs less. And over time, that shows up in your skin, your mood, your memory, and your biological age. Then there's behavior before bed. Your nervous system needs a signal that it's time to downshift. That means reducing stimulation in the last 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. Avoid screens, stressful conversations, and bright lights. Instead, try reading, stretching, listening to calming music, or practicing a slow breathing protocol like the 4-7-8 breath. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, telling your body, we're safe now, it's time to rest. This signal is critical. Without it, you carry the intensity of your day straight into your pillow. And that doesn't just delay sleep, it disturbs it. Caffeine is another important factor. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours, which means if you have coffee at 3 p.m., a significant amount is still in your system at bedtime. Caffeine blocks adenosine, the molecule that creates sleep pressure. So while you might fall asleep, your sleep will be shallower, less restorative, and fragmented. To support deep sleep, cut off caffeine by early afternoon. Sleep is where all other recovery begins. You can exercise daily, eat clean, manage stress, but if you don't sleep, your body can't consolidate the benefits. Without sleep, you're swimming upstream against every biological system that wants to protect you. But when you do sleep deeply, rhythmically, consistently, you support every layer of your being, cognitive, emotional, physical, and hormonal. Think of sleep as the foundation of your internal operating system. When it's solid, everything else functions better. And when it's weak, even the best inputs struggle to take root. You're not just tired when you don't sleep. You're aging faster. But with every night of good sleep, you reclaim something. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim energy. You reclaim time. Because youth is not just about how long you live, it's about how fully you function. And sleep is how you restore that function. Night after night, asterisk movement is not just about strength or flexibility or even fitness. Movement is about signaling to your brain and body that you're alive, that you're engaged with the world, that you're still building. It's the most primal language your biology understands. And when you stop moving, that message goes quiet. When you move even, just a little, you reignite that signal. You remind your systems that they still have a job to do. And in doing so, you slow aging not metaphorically, but chemically, neurologically, structurally. Your body was designed to move. Your muscles don't just pull on bones, they act as endocrine organs, releasing powerful chemical messengers called myokines every time they contract. These myokines circulate through your bloodstream and influence the brain, the immune system, fat metabolism, and inflammation. They are, in a very real way, molecular messages that say, maintain, repair, adapt. So when you take a walk, when you lift something heavy, when you stretch into a deeper range of motion, you're not just burning calories. You're initiating a cascade of regenerative processes that touch every major system of your body. The brain responds immediately. Physical activity elevates levels of dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. These are the neuromodulators that drive mood, focus, motivation, and resilience. When these rise, you don't just feel better, you think more clearly, you connect ideas faster, you respond to stress more effectively. And that's just the surface. Underneath that, deeper in the neural architecture, movement stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF is like Miracle-Gro for your brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons, enhances the connections between them, and protects those neurons from damage. In particular, BDNF supports the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, which is one of the areas most vulnerable to aging. With regular movement, you don't just maintain the hippocampus, you grow it, literally. Imaging studies show that active individuals have larger, more resilient hippocampi. That's youth, not in spirit, in structure. And here's what makes this even more powerful. It doesn't take hours. You don't need to train like an athlete to get these benefits. A brisk 20-minute walk, a few sets of bodyweight exercises, some dynamic stretching, just enough to elevate your heart rate, challenge your muscles, and tell your nervous system, we're still in the game. The key is consistency. Regular, daily movement layered into your lifestyle, not just stacked into a workout window, is what keeps the signals flowing. Think of your nervous system like a highway. When you stop moving, traffic slows, communication breaks down, systems become inefficient. But when you move, you open up those lanes. Information flows freely. The brain communicates with the body. The body feeds back to the brain. That loop: sensory input, motor outputs, is how you stay sharp, how you stay coordinated, how you stay young. Balance and coordination are often overlooked, but they're critical. Every time you challenge your body in space, when you balance on one foot, change direction quickly, or move dynamically, you engage your vestibular system. This system, located in the inner ear, helps regulate your sense of balance and spatial orientation. It's tightly linked to your autonomic nervous system and even your emotional regulation. When you train balance, you're not just preventing falls, you're strengthening the very systems that keep your body and brain working in harmony. And harmony is the goal. That's what aging disrupts: coherence. As we get older, systems that used to sync perfectly start to fall out of rhythm. Hormones arrive at the wrong time. Inflammation creeps in. Blood flow slows. Mitochondrial energy production drops. But movement, especially when it includes resistance and aerobic components, resynchronizes those systems. Aerobic movement, like walking, cycling, swimming, anything that elevates your heart rate in a steady rhythm, increases blood flow to the brain. That delivers more oxygen, more glucose, more nutrients. But it also helps clear waste, reduce neuroinflammation, and increase the efficiency of your vascular system. Regular aerobic activity literally builds more blood vessels in the brain. That's cognitive insurance. That's anti-resistance training, on the other hand, is about hormonal optimization. Lifting weights or doing body weight resistance triggers the release of growth hormone, testosterone, and insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, all of which decline with age. But they don't have to drop off a cliff. Regular resistance training keeps those hormones in circulation. It tells your body, we still need strength, we still need structure. Don't break down, build up, and it works. Studies show that, even in adults over 70, resistance training can increase muscle mass, bone density, and even cognitive function. And we need to talk about mitochondria. These are the power plants of your cells. They produce the energy ATP that every system relies on. With age, mitochondria become less efficient. They generate more free radicals. They contribute to fatigue, cognitive decline, metabolic issues. But here's the solution. Exercise, especially high-intensity or interval-based movement, stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new, healthy mitochondria. That's not just maintaining function, that's reversing decline. That's energy restored at the cellular level. You don't have to do it all at once. In fact, stacking small movements throughout the day might be more beneficial than one long session. Take movement, snacks, 60 seconds of squats, a few push-ups, a stretch break. Walk after meals. Take the stairs. Stand instead of sit. These little signals, repeated consistently, create a strong, resilient, responsive physiology. There's also a psychological transformation that happens when you move regularly. You start to feel agency. You stop thinking of your body as something breaking down and start seeing it as something evolving. You reconnect with the sensation of strength, of momentum. You begin to trust yourself, again, not just mentally, but physically. That confidence ripples out into every other area of your life. Movement is also a form of emotional regulation. When you move, especially rhythmically walking, running, dancing, you activate the body's natural mechanisms for processing stress. You discharge tension through the musculature. You stabilize the breath. You bring awareness out of thought, loops, and into sensation. This creates coherence between the mind and body. That coherence is what so many people are missing, not because they don't care, but because they've stopped moving. Even your immune system benefits. Regular movement mobilizes immune cells, especially natural killer cells, which are your first line of defense against viruses and cancer. It also lowers baseline inflammation, which is one of the most significant contributors to age-related disease. So when you move, you're not just maintaining performance, you're actively protecting your future. This is the choice you make every day, to move or not to move, to send the signal or let it fade. And the choice matters, not because of how it feels today, but because of what it builds for tomorrow. You are shaping your brain, your body, your biology, with every step, every rep, every stretch. You're telling your cells to keep going. You're reminding your brain it still has more to do. You're choosing youth not as an age, but as a signal of function, of possibility, of life in motion. Asterisk, there's a rhythm your body recognizes. It existed long before cities, before electricity, before 24-hour convenience. It's a rhythm shaped by light, by food scarcity, by survival. You'd eat when the sun was up, move when energy was needed, rest when darkness came. This wasn't lifestyle, it was biology. And even now, under bright LEDs and endless food access, your cells remember that rhythm. They're still looking for those cues, one of the most powerful cues. When you eat, not just what. When most people graze all day. A handful of nuts here, a snack there, dinner at 9 p.m., maybe something sweet before bed. The problem is, this non-stop feeding tells your body it's always daytime. It blurs the signal. Your hormones lose rhythm. Your digestive system never rests. Your cells never shift into repair mode. And without that repair, aging accelerates, not just visibly, but internally, at the level of inflammation, cellular stress, mitochondrial function, and DNA repair. Time-restricted eating, or more precisely, eating within a defined daily window is not about starvation, it's about precision. It's about communicating with your biology in a language it understands. When you compress your eating into a consistent window, say 8 to 10 hours a day, you give your body a critical period to rest, reset, and repair. The other 14 to 16 hours, when you're not eating, aren't wasted. They're deeply active. That's when autophagy ramps up the cellular recycling system that breaks down damaged proteins, clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, and makes room for regeneration. It's not just not eating, it's giving your body space to clean itself. Your digestive system consumes a lot of energy. When it's constantly working, digesting, absorbing, metabolizing, there's little room for anything else. But when you stop eating for several hours, the energy cost of digestion drops, and your body reallocates those resources to maintenance. Inflammation decreases, insulin sensitivity improves, and mitochondria energy factories become more efficient. Think about that. By simply giving your body a break from food, you enhance energy production, reduce oxidative damage, and trigger the repair mechanisms that keep you biologically young. Let's go deeper. Every time you eat, insulin spikes. That's normal, necessary. But when insulin is chronically elevated when you're eating every 2 hours, creates metabolic noise. Cells stop responding to insulin properly. Blood glucose stays elevated longer. Fat storage increases. Inflammation builds. And this, over time, leads to insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and accelerated aging. By narrowing the window in which you eat, you lower your total insulin exposure. That lowers your risk of chronic disease. It also signals to your cells, we're metabolically flexible, we're efficient, we're youthful. From a neurological perspective, fasting doesn't starve the brain, it enhances it. Short-term fasting increases levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. That's the molecule that supports neurogenesis, enhances synaptic plasticity, and protects neurons from stress. It's the same molecule that gets activated by movement and learning. So when you fast, your brain becomes more plastic, more adaptive. And that's a hallmark of youth-plasticity. This also impacts cognition and mood. People often notice improved clarity, better focus, and more stable energy when they start time-restricted eating. That's not psychological, it's biochemical. Your body shifts from glucose to fat as a primary fuel source. Ketones begin to rise. And ketones are not only efficient fuels for the brain, they also reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. You feel steady, you feel light, you feel clear. That's the brain operating without metabolic drag. Now imagine this. You finish dinner by 7 p.m. You don't eat again until 11 a.m. the next day. You've just fasted 16 hours. In that window, your insulin dropped. Your body began burning fat. For fuel, your cells activated autophagy. Your brain produced more BDNF. You slept more deeply. You cleared damaged mitochondria. and all you did was not eat. That's the power of giving your body a break. People often ask, but what about breakfast? Isn't it the most important meal? The answer depends on timing. If your first meal happens mid-morning, after your body has completed a fast, then yes, it's important. But not because it's early, because it follows a period of repair. The value isn't in the meal itself, it's in the space before it. That's where the biological magic happens. Another key, consistency. Your circadian clocks don't just live in the brain. Every organ, your liver, pancreas, gut, has its own internal clock. These peripheral clocks sync based on food intake. If you eat at 7 a.m. one day, 10 a.m. the next, then 1 p.m. the day after, you throw those clocks out of sync. That creates metabolic confusion. But when you eat at roughly the same time every day, within a defined window, your entire system aligns, hormones peak predictably, enzymes get released at the right time, digestion becomes more efficient. This isn't just metabolism, it's orchestration. This is how you take control of your biological rhythm. You compress your eating window. You increase time in the fasted state. You give your body space to do what it knows how to do: repair. You stop eating late at night, when melatonin is rising, when digestion is supposed to slow, when your body is getting ready for rest. Late night eating is one of the most damaging habits for circadian alignment. It blunts melatonin, raises blood glucose, impairs sleep, and increases fat storage. It's not just about calories, it's about timing. Here's a scenario. One person eats their last meal at 6:30 p.m., sleeps by 10, wakes at 6, and eats at 10 a.m. That's over 15 hours of fasting. Another person eats dinner at 10 p.m., snacks at midnight, and has breakfast at 7 a.m. That's barely 7 hours of fasting. The first person's body shifts into deep recovery, balances hormones, improves insulin sensitivity, and enhances fat oxidation. The second person's system stays in storage mode, blunts growth hormone, fragments sleep, and builds inflammation. Same calorie intake, different aging trajectories. Why? Timing. Time-restricted eating is not a diet. It's not about restriction. It's about communication. You are giving your cells clean signals. You're aligning your biology with your environment. And in doing so, you slow the internal clock that drives aging. You're not depriving your body. You're supporting it. Asterisk. If you're just beginning, start with 12 hours of fasting. Stop eating by 8 p.m. Eat again at 8 a.m. once that feels normal. Extend it gradually. Maybe stop at 7 p.m. Eat at 9 a.m. Maybe push to 10 or 11. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be intentional. Even 12 hours of fasting daily improves metabolic markers. Even small shifts, eating dinner earlier, reducing late-night snacking, can change inflammation, insulin, and energy. This is the rhythm your body was designed for. Eat during the day, rest at night, repair in between. When you respect that rhythm, you send a message. We are not in decline. We are in alignment. And in biology, alignment is everything. It's what turns aging from a breakdown into a rebuild. It's what keeps your systems sharp, your energy clean, your mind clear, not because of what you eat, but because of when. Aging is not a sentence. It's a signal, one that responds, adapts, and even reverses when you begin sending the right cues. Every habit you've just heard about isn't a trick. It's a message to your cells, to your brain, to your nervous system. A message that says, we're still alive, we're still building, we're not done yet. You don't need perfection. You need rhythm. You need alignment. You need consistency more than intensity. That's how biology responds. When you wake with the light and anchor your circadian rhythm, you bring your body back into sync with nature. When you protect your sleep, you give your brain a nightly chance to rebuild itself from the inside out. When you move not for vanity, but for vitality, you remind your muscles, bones, and neurons that they still matter. When you eat with intention, within a window, you give your metabolism time to recover, and your cells the space to repair. These are not trends. They are time-tested principles rooted in human biology, and something incredible happens when you start aligning your behavior with your biology. You don't just feel better, you become sharper, clearer, more resilient. You get your edge back. The fog lifts. You start looking forward again. This is not about chasing youth. It's about activating potential, because your body still knows how to regenerate. Your brain still wants to grow. Your cells still respond to the signals you send them, no matter your age. This is where change becomes possible. In the small, daily choices. In the light you step into. In the breath you take before sleep. In the movement you build into your morning. In the discipline to wait a little longer before your first meal, to close your kitchen a little earlier. These are the levers, and they're already in your hands. Don't underestimate the compound power of doing the right things consistently, because transformation doesn't happen overnight. But biology doesn't forget. Your body records every choice, every cue, every signal, and with time, those signals become new patterns, patterns that not only slow the march of time, but in many ways, reverse it. So if you've been feeling tired, stuck, foggy, inflamed, this is your invitation. Not just to feel better, but to function better. You are not powerless in the face of aging. You are not broken. You are responsive. You are adaptive. You are still programmable. The science is clear and so is the path. Now it's your move, because every day you wake up is another chance to send the message. We are not fading. We are rising, and biology will listen.